Hello and welcome to another Dragonstorm Studios video. And today I'm going to be drawing a hand for you. I'm going to begin with a rectangular shape and then some circles to denote where the knuckles will be and where the fingers would branch out from that hand. I will be drawing the palm facing up in this case, so we're not going to be drawing nails today. I'm also drawing my own hand, so it is definitely going to have a lot of characteristics which might not be on everyone's hand individually, but you can adjust as necessary. I think a palm reader would have a field day because I've got so many interesting lines on my hand itself. So I'm going to be drawing in the thumb here as well. I'm drawing my left hand since I'm right-handed. And at this point in the drawing phase, I'm actually not using a reference picture. I'm actually using my hand. And I didn't find that all that helpful. So I will be switching over to a drawing, a hand selfie as it were, which I have discussed before in the past. I didn't think it would be so difficult. My thumb especially just getting moving. So we're gonna switch over to a picture of a hand in a moment. But as you can see, we've got the individual fingers taking shape here. One thing I definitely found when I was drawing this was that the fingers themselves, although they are relatively straight, there's a bumpiness to the sides of those fingers. I tend to think of them almost sometimes as like little sausages, and that is an apt description because they don't have a necessarily very straight shape. In fact, you're going to see in a moment me using a ruler just to kind of help me get started, and then I just branch out from there and work with it. Where the palm meets the wrist, you're going to have some lines, some definite denotation between the two parts of the body. And here we have again that ruler just to help get me started with the shape of it. And that just I found useful just to get kind of a head start. But then for the rest of the finger, I'm looking at how it's getting skinnier, it's tapering off as it gets higher to the top of the finger itself. And we're going to do some jump cuts shortly to help make that whole process a little easier to see, a little more fluid, because there's a lot of repetition when it comes to the shading in particular of the digits, because you're going to end up with a consistent light source and a lot of the shadows being in the same parts of the fingers themselves. So already it's slowly looking pretty good, I think, in terms of an overall shape. One thing that I am planning on doing in this video as well is to talk about different ways in which you can get this angle but with different finger placements. And I've got a couple of images that I've done from other drawings which will help kind of show that, but I wanted to keep this first one very basic just to show how I get started on them. And there's certainly more than one way of doing this sort of technique. This just works for me. So we're going to draw in some of the lines on the hand. Certainly a lot on the right hand side in this case because you've got the edge of the palm, and I do find that you get a lot of folds of the skin in that area. When we draw the heel of the palm, you're going to have lots of shading, especially in the lower areas. We tend to have lighting such that our fingers show more just because our fingers are more expressive. If you talk with your hands, you often do have your hands pointed more upwards, and generally speaking, light comes from the top. So I find that most often you end up with shading in the lower areas of the hand itself. The shading in particular does give it that more rounded three-dimensional look as well. And again, I do find that because of where our roundedness is, like for example on the sides of the wrist, you end up with shading there as well. So anytime you get any kind of rounded shapes, you get some shading involved. When we get to the point of the fingers themselves, as mentioned, we're going to have a lot of consistent shadings. We're going to skip a lot of this. And I did find that one of my fingers, for some reason, the angle was wrong. So I make adjustments as I go. I rarely get a hand drawn perfectly the first time. It's one area, now that I'm more comfortable drawing faces, I actually find hands harder to draw than faces now, just because hands themselves can be so expressive. We can create so many different shapes with them. And because of the way our skin is, as we change the shape of our fingers from like a fist, for example, And I just wanted to close out the video with a couple of examples of other pieces of artwork I've done before, which have had interesting hand shapes or interesting hand challenges. And they've turned out well because I've used this technique. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. Hopefully gave you some inspiration to try drawing your own hands. Have yourselves a fantastic day, everyone. Bye-bye.